Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by TwinsMVB.com. My name is Dan Wade. Today is our first World Series off day, and I thought it would be a good time to bring up a couple of items of note. In the previous video blog, John was talking about steroid users in the LCS series, Manny Ramirez for the Dodgers, Alex Rodriguez for the Yankees. Perhaps the steroid user which will have the biggest impact on this series is not Alex Rodriguez, is not Jerry Hairston Jr., although if that's who you were thinking of, congrats on memorizing the Mitchell report, but in fact Andy Pettitte, who often gets forgotten in these steroid discussions. Pettitte was an HGH user, although he says it was only to recover more quickly from injuries and for the benefit of the team. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. I personally do. I think Pettitte's a stand-up guy. Irrespective, he's just as guilty as Rodriguez or Manny Ramirez or many of the other steroid users. Mark McGwire, who recently signed up to be the Cardinals hitting coach, is another. Pettitte often gets forgotten in these discussions, largely because he admitted his culpability right away, said he was sorry, and moved on, which ought to be a manual for former steroid users and those who will certainly be caught down the line. Say you're sorry, get it over with, and sort of move on. But if you're going to talk about steroid users in the playoffs, Pettitte's name has to be among them. And he probably will have the biggest impact on this series, given that Game 3 will probably be somewhat of a pivotal point, with the teams having split one game each in New York. The onus is on the Phillies to really hold serve at home. I don't think they want to go back to New York. They don't want to go back to New York, period, but they certainly don't want to go back 2 games down, knowing the Yankees only need to win 1 game at home, which they're almost certainly capable of. Moving away from the steroid discussion into the pitching rotations, which are becoming the big story of this series, news broke today that Cliff Lee will not pitch Game 4 on short rest. Lee has never pitched on short rest in his career, and so this wasn't a huge surprise, but it does mean that he'll only pitch twice in this series rather than 3 times. The question is what Joe Girardi will do with his ace, CC Sabathia. This time last year, Sabathia was at a very similar innings mark. He faced this pretty much the same Phillies lineup and was absolutely demolished. Shane Victorino hit the grand slam that pretty well chased Sabathia, and the Brewers would run out of the playoffs. Sabathia has pitched on short rest for much of the playoffs, and he's been pretty effective. So Girardi may choose to tempt fate here. I can't say I disagree with that. Having your best pitcher out there as many times as possible is generally a virtuous choice, unless Sabathia self-destructs again, in which case somebody even like Chad Godin may be a better option. On the surface, though, it would be hard to fault Girardi. That's probably all for now. One thing to keep an eye on for Game 3, watch the temperature, as Clay Davenport noted in a recent piece on Baseball Prospectus. These two teams are both pretty homer-happy, but temperatures below 60 degrees tend to depress home runs by approximately 17%. So if it gets into a hit-and-run, Lord forbid, bunt them over situation, it probably favors the Phillies. The Yankees have proved themselves to be pretty dependent on the long ball in this postseason. Look for Cole Hamels to try to keep them in the yard, and look for a close game. Thanks again for stopping by. This has been Dan Wade for TwinsMVB.com.